Hey guys, I'm back. This is the first episode of my new series, um, Axis and Allies Global 1940 Second Edition, and we're going to be talking about strategies. And remember, these videos are for players who know the game well and understand where I'm coming from. So here we are. All right, so Germany's first turn. We have $30. We're going to buy a submarine, a destroyer, and a carrier. The reason why we're going to make this build, it's the same build from the last series. It's a good build because right now you have the advantage because you're going to wipe out these boats here, and you're going to wipe out these boats here, and potentially wipe this boat out, and then we'll talk about that boat in a minute. But so basically what's going to end up happening is after this turn there will be relatively few ships in the Atlantic. And if you go ahead and make a build like this one, then that puts you in the dominant naval run, meaning that you'll have a better shot at defending against any kind of D-Day invasion from America or Britain, because then they have to worry about a navy. Okay, so that's why we go ahead and make this build. I've also played games, like in the last series, I decided not to buy. I've done this before because depending on the British player that you're playing, he'll play a certain way. And I've played it to where I don't spend a single dollar first turn because I don't care about the naval race in the Atlantic. And plus, if I don't spend a single dollar and I don't build any naval units, then depending on the player, they might jump to a conclusion of, oh, hey, he's not doing Operation Sea Lion. He's going to spend all that money on Russia. He didn't build any naval units this turn. And so what they'll do is, instead of spending money on their capital, which they direly need, they'll spend money over here in Egypt. They'll build a factory. They'll build a couple units down in South Africa, maybe a boat or two. They'll start rebuilding their navy here. And then the next turn, I drop that $100 and I can buy this and then 7 transports or more, depending on how many I want to buy. So there's a lot of things you got to consider here. But if you're basing your play just solely off of instinct, like your gut feeling as to what you should do, this is a good setup as to go with that. There's a lot of new strategy involved. There's a lot of things to be considered here. There's room for some error too. It depends on dice rolls. I mean, you can lose a lot in this setup. However, you can also gain a lot in this setup. So now I'll go ahead and explain every move. So up here in the north, we took a submarine from 124 and a submarine from 118. Come in this battle. We took a fighter from Norway, and we took a fighter and 2 tactical bombers from Western Germany. And that's what's in this battle: 2 subs, 2 fighters, 2 tactical bombers. This battle, we have a submarine, a battleship, 2 fighters, 2 tacticals, and 2 strategic bombers. The 2 strategic bombers came from Germany, and then and a tactical bomber as well. 1 tactical bomber and 1 fighter came from Western Germany, and then 1 fighter came from Holland, Belgium. Okay, so that's how we get this battle. This submarine came from Sea Zone 117, and we're going to try our luck. And this will also help help us see if we are going to do Operation Sea Lion or not. Now, I wanted to go ahead and talk about this submarine right here. So there's a bunch of different things you can do with it. It's kind of in a position to attack 3 different navies. You can either throw it in on this one against this battleship and 2 cruisers. You can try your luck at this cruiser. Since it's not a destroyer, you have your sneak attack ability. Or you can throw it in with this submarine over here and try to have a 66% chance of taking this out. Okay. Now, it really depends upon the game and who is playing Great Britain at the time. So if you know that the Britain player is a very aggressive player, and they are definitely willing to do a Toronto raid down here in the Mediterranean, then you might consider using this sub, taking a shot at this cruiser. Because if that cruiser is out, then that means they're going to either have to send 2 fighters to take this destroyer and submarine, or destroyer and transport out, or they're just going to have to send one fighter from Gibraltar to take it out. And that's a little bit of a risky battle, because if you roll well, you can take out a fighter and you still have a transport, and there's nothing they can do about it. So it really depends on what you think will happen. If the British player is aggressive, then I would definitely try my luck at taking out that cruiser. If he's not, then you might just go ahead and play it safe and do this, because if he is an aggressive player, then he'll want to send most of his planes from up here in London down here to the Toronto raid, meaning that he will not scramble. However, if it's a new player, they might think, oh, well, I'm going to save my navy and retreat back here into the Suez Canal, which is a suicidal move in my opinion, but that's my opinion. And they will most likely scramble, meaning that you're going to have to bring more force into here into these battles, meaning that you would want to take this submarine into this battle, because you want to make sure you get rid of those capital ships. So that's it for naval units for Germany. Now what we're going to do is, so obviously Germany's going to come into France, 5 infantry, 3 artillery, 5 tanks, 3 mechs, and tactical bomber. If you guys can see all that there. 2 infantry come from Holland, Belgium, and 3 infantry come from Western Germany. 2 artillery come from Holland, Belgium, and 1 artillery comes from Western Germany. 2 tanks come from Holland, Belgium, and then 3 mechs come from Western Germany. And then the tactical bomber comes all the way from Poland. So a lot of people think that it's a bad idea to put in a plane in France first round, because they think, oh no, we don't want to lose any valuable German planes. And I will admit, German planes are very valuable, and you cannot afford to lose them. However, I have a strategy where I take a tank, a mech, and 2 infantry into Normandy-Bordeaux. 2 infantry and a tank come from Holland, Belgium, and 1 mechanized infantry comes from Western Germany. With this, I usually win Normandy-Bordeaux. However, it takes a tank away from the invasion of France. And I'm willing to go ahead and give the France their one shot. It's a 1 in 6 chance that they will hit my tactical bomber, meaning that if we played 6 games, one of those times the tactical bomber will be shot down. I'm willing to take the odds, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Another thing is this over here, these territories down south in the Balkans. You and whoever's playing Italy, or if you're both, will have to decide who takes what territory. Yugoslavia and Bulgaria are highly disputed. Usually the German player will leave Greece to Italy to deal with, or maybe not. It depends on how weak Italy's first turn is, depending on what Britain does. However, I've come up with the strategy by researching, watching experienced players, listening to the Cliffside Bunker by Young Grasshopper. He does lots of amazing videos, and I wish I was as good as him, but I know I'm not, and probably will never be, but he's definitely somebody to look up to, and you should definitely check out his channel. But what I have decided is probably the best use is, so we have 7 infantry, 2 artillery, and a fighter coming into Yugoslavia. One of those infantry comes from Romania, okay? This is a way of munching on Yugoslavia and then dropping and then retreating back to Romania so that we can move into Russia as quickly as possible, okay? Now, this also depends, it really depends on your British player, like I said, or your Russian player. You just kind of have to feel out who you're playing. If your Russian player is smart and knows what he's supposed to do, then if you wait too long, it's going to be really hard to get into Russia, and then if Britain and America team up, you're toast. Especially if Italy has a bad couple rounds. So you might have to think about, okay, so is the Russian player strong enough to combat me, and smart enough to do what he should in order to defend the homeland. And so in that case, you might want to go ahead and hit harder, faster. meaning that sorry guys, meaning that he won't have as much time to prepare. Also, I've played it in the past where Germany gets Yugoslavia and Bulgaria, but then I let Italy have southern France and Greece. However, I've flip-flopped it around. Each side will get the same amount of money per turn, but what happens is Germany will take a few infantry losses here to munch on Yugoslavia, so that's easier for Italy to take out. And then Italy will walk into Bulgaria, and now that we have the 4 infantry from Bulgaria and then these 2 infantry and a tank here from Albania, 6 infantry and a tank is more than enough to take Greece. And then we don't have to worry about coming up with more land units, having a transport. You can just walk in, take Greece, and guess what? You've got $5 coming out of the Balkans. Now the downside is Italy does not get southern France. I decided to leave that to Germany. The main reason is because of this factory and this naval base here. If things start going sour in the Mediterranean, Germany is obviously the stronger Axis player in the European theater. And if Italy needs some help, we have a factory here. We can build ships, we can build tanks, we can build infantry, we can build transports if need be. There's multiple things that Italy could need. Also, if there is the chance that Italy does really well, Britain screws up for whatever reason, and Cairo falls to Italy, then I as Germany always like to buy a destroyer, transport, and an infantry. I'll move a tank down, and I'll take an infantry and a tank, bring them over to Egypt. There you go, I got $5 more because of that. I help Italy keep their territory, and I get $5 extra per turn. Also, we now have a way of shipping German troops in case things start to go sour in North Africa. Now, this is all reactionary play, of course, because you have no clue what's going to happen. But what I've decided from playing multiple games is this is the best idea: is to come in here, munch on Yugoslavia, move to Romania, move into Russia as quickly as possible, take out France and Normandy, Bordeaux. You got to make sure you take out these boats. If you don't do that, you're in big trouble. Now we've got, I usually try my shot at this one, and in this series I'm going to go ahead and try my shot at this cruiser. Main reason is because I know myself, and I'm not a super aggressive player, but I know how to play Britain well, meaning that the Taranto raid will happen. So I can guarantee that Britain will not scramble, or France, neither of them will scramble, and instead the planes will come down here to hammer Italy. So as Germany, I will decide to go ahead and counter that. So like I said, you have to feel out your player, you have to feel out your enemy, and you have to go from there. So those are the basic attack moves. Munch on Yugoslavia, attack France, Normandy, the 2 British navies, the destroyer, and this cruiser. And hopefully everything goes well. Things don't always go well, and so alright, I will go ahead and cut this video right here, and I will see you on the next turn, and we'll see what happened dice-wise.